This is the world's quirkiest lighting, but nothing's gonna be quirkier than my past few days. Fellow users of the internet, and welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're one of my current 985 subscribers, then welcome back. And if you're not, honestly, I've earned it. Please do me a solid. I'm just gonna jump straight into what is probably one of the most harrowing experiences I've ever had, and that's actually kind of saying something because I accidentally tend to get myself into a lot of dramatic situations. Look, I don't think I'm that dramatic a person in the sense that I create problematic drama. Am I dramatic in every other Leo sense of the word? For sure. But I never try to start conflict. I don't look for bad things to happen. I'm pretty chill. I like a good time. I stay optimistic. But the universe apparently doesn't seem to be a fan of that. If you've tuned into the channel before, you may have noticed that I'm not in front of my usual aggressively loud Broadway poster background, and that is because I'm not at home. After several days, I have finally traveled and made it to New York City. I know, I'm as surprised as you are. However, was the journey here an easy one? A straightforward little migration? Absolutely not. I am literally still traumatized, and it's been 4 days. Check in with me in 4 years and see if anything's changed. I doubt it. You may be thinking, Annabelle, aren't you Australian? Don't you talk about not being from America and how upset you are about that fact? Isn't Australia in a very tight lockdown? The answer is yes. However, 2 years ago, I started a bachelor's degree at the New School in New York, had to come back because of the pandemic, was given a week's notice. That's another story time. And I thought that I was kind of just gonna be stuck in Sydney for the rest of my life. However, finally, after 18 months and a lot of paperwork, I was able to apply for and successfully get a new visa, apply and successfully get a travel exemption, and book one of the 2 flights a week that Sydney has to New York. But before I was able to make it, the universe really decided to throw me some curveballs. So I knew that leaving the country was going to be a bit difficult. There is currently a travel ban, so I came stocked up with paperwork. I had to prove that I had recently tested negative for COVID and that I'd got a travel exemption, that I had a visa, and that I was fully vaccinated, so came prepared with a full little pink A4 folder containing anything the government could ever want to know about me. Literally all of this. Imagine if this fell out of my bag. Rocked up to the airport at 6 a.m. and discovered that apparently the negative COVID test result that I had provided them with was not sufficient. When you go to a normal COVID test clinic, they send you a text saying negative, or if you're unlucky, positive. However, no. To leave the country, you needed to get a fancy test. You needed to get an $150 test. Despite the fact that nowhere online corroborates this fact. But nevertheless, in panic mode, I saw that there was a COVID testing station at the airport that guaranteed results within an hour. So I went there, paid the $150, got swabbed, tested negative, and finally successfully checked in. However, my bag was 3 kilos overweight, and the price for an overweight bag was $275. Now, I was only originally allowed 1 suitcase on this flight. However, if I wanted to pay for an additional suitcase, it would have only been $180. But a 3 kilo overweight bag, $275. But whatever, it's fine. I had overcome all of the hurdles I needed to leave Australia, a seemingly impossible feat in this time of extreme lockdown. However, spoiler alert, I had not. I boarded the plane, everything seemed chill. They literally didn't serve me any food at all, so I had to go and steal a flight attendant's mini packet of pretzels, and that is what held me over 14 hours. But it's fine. I was finally going back to New York. I would be feasting on culture. Who needs an actual meal? Eventually, I touched down at LAX. For anyone who's ever been to LAX, you know security's tight. It's an intimidating experience going through customs. I landed at about 6 a.m. LA time, got my bag, checked it in for my connecting flight, went to customs, made it through, thought that I could chill at my gate, except when I looked to see what gate I was at, it told me that my flight had been cancelled. Obviously, I start panicking. It's 6 a.m. I'm in a foreign country. I can't get to the Airbnb on the other side of America that I had booked and was stranded. I called my parents, crying, panicking, except what could they do? Nothing, because they're halfway across the world. I went to the United Help Desk, waited in line for an hour, at which they told me that my flight had been cancelled for plane repairs, and that the next flight, unfortunately, wasn't going out until Sunday. This was a Thursday. Cue the absolute existential crisis. I mean, I'd just like to know, why were United surprised that apparently that plane had to fly that day? Like, were you not aware that the plane needed to be repaired before people got on it? Maybe you could have scheduled that a couple of hours earlier? I mean, I'm not a mechanic, but that seems like maybe something you should have organized in advance. The Thursday that I was planning on flying from LA to New York also happened to be the day that a hurricane broke out, meaning that flights to New York on other airlines were being cancelled left, right, and center. So I had to move quickly. I asked United where my checked-in bag had gone. I spoke to the help desk. They said that they'd try to organize something for me and to go downstairs. I went downstairs. Lo and behold, wasn't there. They said that no one had contacted them. They asked me to show them a photo of the bag, so I showed them a really blurry half screenshot of the photo that my mum took before I left the country, and waited for a grueling 45 minutes until, thank God, finally it appeared. Which for me, kind of insanely good luck. Normally I lose things and they're gone forever. But I grabbed my bag and I ran to the JetBlue counter where they told me that there were literally no flights available. So then round 2, or at this point probably round 50, I grabbed my bags and ran to the American Airlines counter where they also told me that there were no flights to New York. At this point, it's about 8:30 a.m. I'd been crying in the airport for about 2.5 hours. I had my overweight checked-in luggage, my wheelie take-on bag, and a massive duffel bag that I had carted on my 40-minute walk between terminals, and I was mentally, physically, and emotionally exhausted. The woman at the counter then said, "The best flight we can get you is to Boston," to which I said, "Yes, immediately, please book it." Look, do I know where Boston is? No. But I know it's closer to New York than LA. She said, "Are you sure you don't want to check that you can make it from Boston to New York?" And I said, "Literally just book it. Just take my money and book it." Which she did. That flight cost $700. Plus, don't forget my overweight checked-in luggage, which was an additional $180. Maybe for a person with normal luck, the airline worker might have let it slide, but for me, no. Take my entire life savings. I don't need money to live. At this point, I was landing in Boston at 7:30 p.m. with no way of getting to New York City. In my mind, it was maybe an Uber ride away. In reality, it's a 4-hour and 59-minute drive away. So it turns out that was not a viable option. I then had to choose between getting a train or booking a flight. Obviously, train's a significantly cheaper option. However, the thing is, I've never been to Boston before. I don't know where I would find a train terminal at 7:30 at night. And then even if I got on it at 7:30, I wouldn't get there until like after midnight. God, I'm a good mathematician. So I went with my gut and looked up flights, which, as you've guessed, due to this super convenient hurricane, were few and far between. So I'm sitting at the gate crying, waiting for my flight to a destination that I don't know how to get out of. I eventually find a 49-minute flight from Boston to New York, and I think problem solved, except for the fact that it's $900. $900 for a 49-minute flight. Actually, no, I'm looking at my bank account. It's $901. Not even a straight 900. 901. And honestly, the plane didn't even look that flash. The others that I had booked had PowerPoints for phone charges. This one, absolutely nothing. Except the guarantee that it could take me to the city that I was actually aiming for all along. I'd started this trip at 6 a.m. on September 2nd. Now, because of the time difference, I'd been in LA since 6 a.m. on September 2nd. And I just wanted some kind of solace, some kind of closure, some kind of happy ending. So I booked it. However, a big part of me still thought it was gonna get cancelled. As I was sitting at the gate, I was hearing all the announcements about all of these flights that weren't gonna make it to New York, and I thought, I'm next. It's only a matter of time, my flight's gonna be on the chopping block, and it's non-refundable. I straight up thought, I'm just gonna live in Boston for the rest of my life. I've seen The Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, maybe they'll throw a tea party. However, thank God, when I got to Boston, my flight wasn't cancelled. The first piece of good news I'd gotten all day. I kid you not, I literally cried in the face of the JetBlue worker who said, "You will make it." It's all I'd wanted to hear. It's what I'd been telling myself. I thought it was a lie, but finally my dreams had come true. And I have never cried that much in public in my entire life. It was a lot. Also, I'd been up for about 35 hours straight at this point. However, what snapped me back into reality was that once again my bag was 1 pound overweight, and because none of these flights were connecting flights, you guessed it, another $180. So yes, did I eventually touch down in Newark, New Jersey, and then have to get a taxi into the city at midnight on Thursday, September 2nd? Yes, I did. So does this story have a happy ending? Kind of. Except for my mental health and my bank account. Because if you're following along at home, that is $2,285 that I spent on unnecessary flights and baggage, all of which were economy, just to rub it in. You know, I had plans for September 2nd. I was gonna touch down in New York, go to Levain Bakery, get a cookie, go to Olive Garden, get some takeaway for dinner. Maybe book some Soul Cycle for the next day. However, those plans brutally murdered by the universe. I got in at midnight and had to carry my 61-pound suitcase up 5 flights of stairs to my Airbnb. Seriously, all I wanted to do was eat and go to bed. So I came in, dumped my stuff, ordered some Taco Bell, which, just to add insult to injury, never showed up. My driver picked up my food and then never arrived. Because why would anything remotely work out on the longest day of my entire life? I also did some calculations prior to this video, because I barely know what numbers are, that I lived September 2nd for 38 hours. Bill Murray, I get you. I had never wanted for another day, in this case September 3rd, to come so much in my life. And then finally it did, and I woke up, and then I went out that night, and then I thought I lost my phone, and then cried at a bar, but then plot twist, it was in my friend's bag the whole time. But that's another story. That's some more trauma I'm not gonna get into right now. And that's all I have for you. If you enjoyed listening to me complain about my privileged travel problems, then please thumbs up and subscribe. And if you didn't, because I'm annoying and low-key flexing about the fact that I actually was able to leave Australia during lockdown, then just do it anyway. And I'll see you next time, where I'll be giving you some more New York Airbnb content. Talk to you then. Bye! I'm gonna cry myself to sleep.